Hello, and welcome to Automation Unpacked. It's a series of conversations that we have where we help break down automation and AI for businesses and business leaders who are not necessarily experts in this area, but definitely want to learn more. I'm Eric Salas. I'm the VP of Marketing and Managing Partner at Valenta. And our topic today is around how wealth management and financial planning firms are using intelligent automation to not only deliver a better client experience, but also enables them to scale for the future and also address some interesting challenges ahead for that industry. And I'm joined today by someone who has firsthand experience with those. And Solomon Dodson joined Valenta last year, but he spent many years at wealth management firms, both as an advisor as well as managing operations. So before we get into the questions I have for Solomon, Solomon, it'd be great for you to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background in the wealth management industry, and also how you found your way to Valenta.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Eric. Yeah, I spent over 4.5 years in wealth management. Was really drawn to the operations side of the business, so I wanted to empower advisors to spend time primarily working with clients, building their book, going to events, building the value there. I think as AI and automation become more and more prominent, the back office is slowly going to get smaller. It's going to get retooled, and advisors are going to be empowered to spend more time with clients and adding value, going up the value chain. So rather than just doing advising work, they're going to be doing tax planning. They're going to be putting together trust with trust advisors, all that sort of stuff to be competitive in the market.
Yeah. And after years in wealth management, how did you find your way to Valenta?
Yeah, the firm I had worked with for 4.5 years, we worked with Valenta. They helped automate a lot of our onboarding processes and client touch points. So they saved countless hours with what we had built together. Uh, I saw the huge value in what AI and automation can do, and with the amount of dollars flowing into this market, I saw it as a great opportunity to help advisors all across the country automate their own tech stack.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, that's a great segue into the first question I have. So, obviously, you were on the inside, right, at a wealth management firm, and you were focused on a lot of the operations and the processes that are typical in a firm like that. So, what did that day to day look like, and what made you start asking the question, like, how can this manual work be replaced and optimized with automation?
Yeah, a lot of the work we did was reactive to some extent. A client would call in, they would need something, or we've had a task due. So, filling out paperwork, calling clients back, sending out text messages to do scheduling. All this stuff, it's repetitive, it's rules based. It gets done the same way just about every time. I mean, there can be exceptions, but 9 times out of 10, this is all stuff that's repetitive and takes a lot of time, right? So copying, pasting from system to system, from your CRM into your form filling tool, can take up a lot of time, and there's not a whole lot of tools out there that solve that problem for every single firm. There's so many disparate systems, so many different combinations of tech stack that owners, partners, principals all want kind of their own uh, way to automate it and get it done the way they want to get it done.
Hmm. What are some of the typical systems that um, are in a wealth management firm, financial planning firm, and and where you saw the biggest opportunity for some automation?
Yeah, so you've got your CRM system where you store all of your client data. That is sometimes used as a source of truth. You've also got your custodian platform where all the money is held. So RIAs don't hold the money, they hold it at a custodian like Schwab or Fidelity or Altruist. And sometimes that's also used as the source of truth. So, uh,
Yeah.
we've also got the portfolio management system where it pulls in all the data from your custodians, held away accounts, all that sort of stuff, put together fancy reports, do billing. That's stuff like Orion and Tamarack. Those all handle that. So you've got 3 or 4 different systems with client data. So, one big pain point is, okay, a client needs a new form filled out. They're going from system to system, matching the data, make sure it's all accurate. Because the last thing you want to do is send out a form with the wrong client address on there. Uh, with the wrong client address, you might have pulled it from your CRM, but perhaps the client went into their custodian and updated on their own and you didn't know about it. So it takes up a lot of time to match that data, fill out those forms, and get the you know DocuSign out to the
Mhm.
client.
Yeah. That's a lot of manual kind of jumping around from system to system. Generally, do you have a sense of like maybe for the average advisor, how much time that was taking up in terms of all that manual process?
Yeah, I mean, not just the time, but the context switching, right?
Mhm.
So, I would have 20 tabs, 20 Chrome tabs open at once. So, client calls in, you gotta log into your system. Maybe it timed you out, you gotta log back in. You've got to match all that client data, so that might take 2 or 3 minutes. And then you've got to find the right form, right? Every form has a code associated with it. Go in there, pull the right form, either fill it out by hand or use some sort of document processing tool, and then finally uploading it in a DocuSign, and then putting the right signatures in the right spots. And if any data is missing, also adding required fields. So that whole process might take 30 minutes, you know, and then you start thinking about how much you're paying to have somebody do that. Well, $25 an hour, that's 15 bucks down the drain every time you do that.
Mhm.
Right, and you could have them doing more valuable work, like, doing more client appreciation type of stuff, planning events, helping out with the financial planning, process, because when advisors go out and get new clients, it takes, 5 to 10 hours to build plans. So, client service type folks can help build plans, improve the plans, update, client information, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. That certainly will start to add up, that time that's taken up by all that manual process. And I guess the reality is that's not uncommon for in industries beyond wealth management. And almost every industry, I think you'll find the a similar challenge and process around having multiple apps, multiple Chrome tabs, like we are talking about, having to jump around from app to app and do a lot of context switching, and then half hour, 40 hour later, you're still finding yourself, in the middle of that process. So, yeah, definitely something that, every business I think can really relate to. But wealth management firms in particular have a reputation for maybe being a little bit slower to adopt new technology than maybe other industries. From your experience actually working inside one, why do you think that is?
Yeah, my personal opinion on that is the people that are starting firms and working on growing the top line, they're focused on just that, right? They're focused on building relationships, finding clients, adding them to their book of business, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's about, growing top line, potentially looking for an exit in 20 or 30 years, being aggregated into these large aggregators. So they're trying to build the value of their business, but a lot of times what they might be overlooking is the ops side of things, right? So there's a lot of tech, a lot of workflows that go behind actually servicing those clients. So they tend to overlook that, and it tends to be a slower industry because the people that are in charge are worried about top line,
Mm,
for the most part.
yeah. And they probably aren't aware or don't realize how much manual processes are actually impacting their business. So, what are the objections that you hear most often, from firms or owners of firms when, kind of the idea of automation comes up?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it's, "Hey, I've already got that handled." I've got a client service associate doing that for me.
Mhm.
The question I'd bounce back with is, how often are you hiring for that role, right? How long does it take to train that person? What's the likelihood they stay for over 3 years? Because a lot of these operations roles, I mean, they're valuable, but you're looking for somebody that enjoys filling out forms and answering the phone. Talking to clients is great, but answering the phone for vendors,
Mm.
people cold calling in, all that sort of stuff, uh, not super valuable work. And finding somebody that wants to fill out forms all day is a little bit of a tough sell.
For sure. So you're talking to a principal at an advisory firm. They're thinking about automation, but they're kind of hesitant. Where do you tell them to start? Like, what's a good entry point for them to think about?
Yeah, the best place to start is talk to your advisors, right? The people that you're paying the most money to. Uh, how can we save them time? How can we improve their lives, right? So, if you don't have a note taker in your meetings with your clients, definitely go ahead and get one of those on board. I mean, they're a commodity at this point. There's 20 or 30 different companies that can do that for you, and they're all compliant for the most part, so check with your compliance team. But, you know, past that, what are your advisors doing, right? Are they updating spreadsheets? Are they doing data entry? Are they you know, handling their own billing? Whatever it may be that they're doing in their day to day, let's audit that. Let's figure out where that time is going, what's that's costing, every week, how many labor dollars, and then go from there.
Yeah, are there maybe one or two processes like that are pretty common, that you think every firm, regardless of size or where they are in their journey, should be automating like off the bat?
Uh, there's a lot of communication that goes on between the traders, the client service team, and the advisors, right? So whenever there's new activity in certain accounts that you're actively monitoring, it could be anything. It could be clients sending an ACH in. It could be a new transfer of account. Automating that back and forth between the advisors and operations team about notifications with changes in accounts is a great place to start. Uh, because a lot of time is spent, uh, talking with those advisors and operations and trading team to figure out what to do with those assets that came in, right? So if it's a taxable account, you want to make sure the cost basis comes in. If it's a retirement account, you may not need to wait on the cost basis. You may need to blow out of it. Potentially, clients will send money in, but we want to, hold off before investing it. Potentially, they want to wait for something wacky to happen in the market, or they want to send it somewhere else, right? If you manage the 529 plans, you might want to send it out to another firm rather than invest it in your own portfolio. So, automating that communication can be super helpful because there's a lot of back and forth that happens on a daily basis.
Yeah, that sounds like a great place to start, and where maybe a business might be able to see a quick win or impact pretty quickly, from that time saved. I'm thinking about also, you mentioned earlier lots of different systems, maybe legacy systems that they have, and just that coordination across all of those different things. I guess one of the hesitations I would think, a firm might have is, do I need to change all of the systems I have or learn a whole new technology stack, or, ripping and replacing something in my tech stack? What's the reality around that when it comes to automation?
Yeah, the reality is, your employees hate new technology. They hate learning new stuff, new systems, new workflows. Advisors just want to get it done, right? They want zero involvement. They want to just get those forms filled out. The clients updated, all that sort of stuff. Uh, they're they're not privy, or they're not too keen on ripping out their processes that they've been doing for 10 years. If they can offload it to a bot, that would be ideal. That way the workflow stays intact. They know what to expect, and it's just taken off their plate. It just gets done. Uh, so there's a lot of new technology out there. You can spend months shopping around, comparing and contrasting, but really going in and figuring out what's taking time and just solving those one challenge, or each challenge at a time. Rather than jumping from system to system, because a lot of times what we find is software might save 80% of your or solve 80% of your problems, but there's still a 20% gap that
Mhm.
that needs to be filled in through intelligent automation, AI, RPA,
Yeah.
uh, and jumping from tech stack to tech stack. Yeah, you're always going to have that 20% gap. 20% gap, I feel.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you think that firms are surprised by that fact that, like, they don't have to change a lot of their systems, they don't have to change their processes, that they can really just take kind of use automation and lay that on top of what they already have, and see a big gain, just immediately, almost immediately, without having to do a lot of change.
Yeah, I mean, they don't wanna shop around for 2 or 3 months and be sold on, 3 or 4 different solutions. They wanna, be as least disruptive as possible. So rather than a human doing it, we can have a bot do it, and they don't have to shop around, deal with salespeople, and, uprooting your entire firm just for, one little nice benefit, nice feature in a particular product.
Yeah. Yep. Another area that I think, that I would assume, firms are really focused on is compliance, right? That's definitely a word and something that comes up in almost every conversation I'm sure you have. Um, how does automation create compliance risk, or does it actually help?
Yeah, it's actually more compliant than having a human do it, believe it or not. Compliance or automation isn't just some black box where things happen and you have no control, right? Every process, every workflow is auditable. So if we can go back, see exactly what failed, fix it for the next time it runs, that's typically what happens. When you have humans, new client service people, data entry folks. Uh, there's a lot of variance with how people do things, right? I mean, I remember with with myself doing processes, something would pop up from 3 months ago that I did wrong, and I would have zero clue, what happened, right? I didn't recall it, had no real recollection. So, if a bot had done it, we would know exactly what happened. Me, I just had to shrug my shoulders and say sorry.
Yeah, I bet that was difficult to be able to go back months later and say, "Hey, that was a mistake that I made." And that automation could definitely minimize that. Where do you draw the line though? Like, are there points still where you say, okay, automation can do most of the job, but then here we still have to have a human in the loop here?
Yeah, so certainly when you're dealing with clients and sending out notifications to clients, reaching out directly, you still want to have that human touch. I would certainly lean towards automation for the back office, but when it comes to client outreach and dealing with clients directly, you want to have that human touch. I mean, honestly, with the amount of fees that clients pay across the industry, they expect that human white glove service, and have them talking to a robot or talking to some automated system. It's not a good look. And frankly, they can go to any other firm and get that sort of service.
Yeah, true. So automation can definitely save time. It can help with, improve actually the compliance, policies and posture for a firm. It can also, you know, obviously help reduce, sort of error rates, right? That could happen with humans, having, to do it. But there's still also a fear, I would think, in the industry about like, does automation take away jobs? Does it, impact, kind of the ability for employees to do their jobs? Um, how do you talk about that with prospects and clients? And is that a real concern, or is that has that evolved?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a legitimate concern. But when we look at the supply of workers, what's going to be happening across the industry as a whole, we'll lose 100,000 advisors by 2030. I mean, that's just the way that the cookie crumbles there. Um, we're going to be losing advisors, and client service folks are getting harder and harder to find. Uh, there's definitely a shortage there as well. It's difficult to find good talent. Uh, so automating this repetitive stuff that doesn't add value to people's lives, um, will certainly shift the industry. But there's still going to be jobs. I mean, this is a super, high touch, human rich business that still needs humans running the show, monitoring the bots, making sure everything is accurate that goes out to clients.
Yeah. When I guess the reality is like, if we're able to free up an advisor's time, right, without having to, do any sort of manual work, they can actually deliver a better experience for their clients, and actually, improve that experience, person to person. So I definitely see, benefits, but and I think the industry, the way it's going, it's almost going to have to rely on automation really to keep up with, the being able to deliver the customer, experience that they want to.
Yeah, I mean, there's 16,000 RIAs out there, so it's super competitive, right? So you're competing on speed, you're competing on quality, you're competing on advice. So if you can provide all three of those when you're meeting with clients, and you onboard them and show how quickly you can get that onboarding packet out to them, you're going to really impress them and reassure that they made the right decision working with you.
Yeah. Great. So, in your conversation, you've convinced a firm to move forward with automation. What does that first 90 days typically look like? What should they expect?
Yeah, so, on previous question, we kind of talked about advisors are hesitant. They're perhaps 10 years behind what other companies are doing across, construction, manufacturing, HR. So they want to see the proof, right? They want to take one workflow that's taking, 10 to 20 minutes a week. They want to start small. They want to see the capabilities. So, it pulling data from the portfolio management system or the custodian, putting it into spreadsheets, formatting spreadsheets, um, all this stuff. Um, that's not value add. They just want to see a little bit of proof, see that it works, how Valenta works, how automation works, where it's not just APIs where things are moving from system to system. It's actually a robot that clicks on a screen. They want to see how reliable that is. Once it's proven out, once we show the ROI, they typically want to move on to bigger and more time-consuming processes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely consistent with how we approach almost every, potential project. Is we want to, think big but start small, right? In terms of, having a vision and understanding kind of the ultimate, like kind of long term impact and benefit automation could have. But like, it's really important to start with that one process that's going to have a huge impact, and it just kind of builds from there. So that's definitely good advice. Um,
And I'll just throw this in too. A lot of firms don't want to work with a consultant, right? They've got two or three people that are champions on their end that are driving the AI and automation initiative. They just need a team to rely on to build it and manage it.
yeah, yeah. And maybe that's a good segue into a question that just kind of came to me, in that, I think one thing that Valenta does uniquely is not only do we offer automation services, but we also have people and resources with plenty of experience in wealth management, paraplanners, et cetera. And I think that's a unique combination that we can also offer a wealth management firm or a financial planning firm, is the combination of human and automation services to also accelerate, kind of the move to a future. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with just the planning process, we'll start with that. Monitoring these documents that come over from clients when you're in the proposal phase, making sure that all of that's collected. Typically, you want a human watching over that process. Once it's collected, a lot of times we just need a human to go in there and do data entry into eMoney or Money Guide, uh, whatever platform they use. And then that human can also go in and build the presentations, build the decks, uh, you know, generate the PDFs, and then before that, the advisor would need to go in and tweak it, approve it, build out the what if scenarios. So the planning process for a larger firm, we could certainly automate that data entry piece, but a firm doing 5 to 10 plans a month might just need somebody to help them out to do that paraplanning process.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're coming up to the end of our session. So, last question, and we always try to make this very practical for our audience. So, if someone's listening right now and they're running an advisory firm, or maybe even a related business, and they want to start moving on automation, what are the top two or three things that they should do first?
The first thing they should do is just put together a small team to audit your current workflows, see what's taking advisor time out of their day. Typically, you can save a lot of money just by putting together a small team of people that understand the business, have been there for a while. You don't need a professional consultant to do that for you. And then you can talk to your uh, compliance person, see if it's feasible and compliant, and then begin actually automating those repetitive rules-based processes and begin taking that off their plate. Uh, and one thing I'd like to add too is, working with large aggregators that are, buying firms, right? You want to get those processes automated and streamlined. That way, when you add a firm that doesn't necessarily have those sort of tools and capabilities, it's a force multiplier, right? And it'll bring up your multiple, for the valuation of your business and gain more funding. So, really building that backbone, especially if you're looking at acquiring other firms, is super valuable, and it's a value add for the firms that want to join forces with you.
Yeah. For sure, that's great advice to leave off on, in terms of, small improvements today can lead to huge, impact, not only, in the short term, but also the long term as well. So, well, great. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure, Solomon just shared some great insights on the industry, on how to get started with automation, and left you with some pretty practical tips on how to get started. So if you found our conversation helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. We'll also put our LinkedIn information in the show notes, and you can reach out to Solomon or myself directly. Also, head to valenta.io if you want to learn more about how we help businesses with AI and automation solutions. And we'll see you next time on Automation Unpacked.